So we'll go ahead and introduce this one. We're doing two tonight, one on choices and one on decisions.
What's the difference?
That's
What a wow!
that's the question we're going to answer. Okay. So I'm going to start off. How's my hair?
Looks as good as mine.
I haven't combed it all day, so
I combed mine this morning and called it good.
same here. All right. So we are rolling.
Ain't
by
got
the way.
enough to worry about anymore anyway.
Yeah, mine just looks like it's going straight
I know,
back.
right? Yeah.
I got a lot of forehead for this little face.
Those crew cuts Dad used to give us.
Yeah.
Hated them. Would run and hide. Well,
Here they are.
here they are. I can't even run from this one.
No, in fact,
Doesn't matter
if
where
mine
you
starts
hide.
touching the ears, I'm ready to shave it off.
I know. Doesn't matter where you hide, it finds you.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, ready?
Yep.
All right, we'd like to welcome everybody to our podcast. What is the name of our podcast?
The name of our podcast is That Cool Podcast.
That Cool Podcast.
Those cool podcast dudes. I don't know. What is the name of our podcast?
I don't know. That it could be Cool Podcast. It could be that. We'd have to really brand it.
Yeah.
Cool Podcast. We'll just call it to our Cool Podcast right now.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Until we think of something else. Because, hey, why start branding on the very first one?
All right. Yeah, I didn't even think of the
I
name
didn't
of it.
either.
So we're going to talk about, mainly it's all about personal development, right?
Yeah.
Personal development, how to change your life and all that kind of stuff. Okay. I'd like to welcome everybody to our podcast. This is the Cool Podcast. You're really going to want to tune in. You're going to watch all of our episodes because this is the Cool Podcast you're going to want to pay attention to. What we do here is we talk about personal development, personal achievement, becoming the person you want to become, creating the life that you love, all of the above, and making sure that if you want to transform, you can do it with us because you're listening to this Cool Podcast. My name's Doug, and this is my brother,
Don.
Don.
And we're the West Brothers.
Yeah, we are the West Brothers. So we are,
Some people call us Doug and Don West.
some do. We had same mom and dad, from what I understand.
Oh, for about 50 years.
Yeah, right. So here we're going to talk all about personal change.
Yes.
That's what we're about
Absolutely.
on this Cool Podcast.
On this cool podcast. Yeah.
Okay. So tonight's topic, or today's topic, or the topic right now,
Topics, yeah.
is
The power of choice
the power of choice.
and making decisions or
Well,
decisions.
Decisions are going to be number 2.
Right.
So right now we're going to talk about
The power of choice.
the power of choice.
Right.
And we really haven't prepped too much for this, have we?
No, we haven't. It's
Hey, let's
This
do a
is
podcast.
Doug and Don Raw. What are you doing tonight? Oh, I thought I'd do a podcast. You want to do it with me?
Well, we do have some webinars and stuff under our belt, right?
Right.
So,
It's not like this is the first time we've ever talked about this stuff. I mean, we've been learning and teaching and doing this stuff for over a decade.
yeah, since
06 or something
06,
like that.
yeah. A long
Back
time.
when we realized our lives was a mess.
We've been doing it so long I can't even count that high.
We're double digits,
Yep.
baby.
So we're master hypnotists. We
Yep.
should let them know.
Yeah.
Back
Master
in
hypnotists.
2006, that was our great starting point, was to
Yep.
become hypnotists.
Yep.
So we could change the world,
Yep.
because the world was
Because the world was messed up, not
Yeah,
us.
not us, yeah. So let's
I'm
change.
not the problem. Everybody around is the problem.
Exactly. So
Mistake number 1.
yeah. So we became master hypnotists. Hypnotherapy.
Yep.
We've helped.
Done a lot of hypnotherapy.
A lot of hypnotherapy,
Yeah.
helped hundreds and hundreds,
Hundreds
of people. Yeah.
yes.
And
it's been very rewarding, very fulfilling.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's probably one of the coolest things I've ever done in my life, was to get that training, get that understanding, and then be able to help people move forward or move from problems and issues that they're dealing with. It's been really cool.
It has. It kind of took me into the mode of being a behaviorist,
Yes.
because
Yes.
hypnotherapy really talks about behaviors,
Right.
and then how to find the issue of the behavior and then
Yeah.
change it.
Look for that
Right.
root. What is
Yeah.
because I mean, every one of us have excuses, and we justify those excuses. We lie to ourselves, and we believe our own lies.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
And then we studied NLP, neuro linguistic programming. which is fun.
It's a lot of fun,
Oh.
and it drives people crazy when I say, well, because of these words that you're using.
Yeah, words have power.
Words
they're
have-
labels.
yes.
So if you're using words out there,
Stop it, unless they're good words.
yeah, exactly. Realizing though that words have power.
Right.
That words can change things.
Right.
Has an effect.
Right.
And then
Well, that's where it starts.
yeah. Yeah, well, it's we'll say it starts there for now.
Yeah.
Because down the road we might change our mind.
Yeah. For tonight, that's where it starts.
Yeah, but it does. Language is one of the one of the triads. If you
Right.
have a triad of change, according to
Right.
Tony Robbins, language is one of his
Oh yeah,
points.
huge. Language
Yeah.
is huge.
Yep. So then we went on and we studied Tony Robbins, and a little bit of his human
behavioral,
needs psychology.
Human needs psychology. Yeah.
He's excellent. He's world renowned. And
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, you probably know of him.
And Tony, if you're listening, thanks.
Hey, yeah, we appreciate the knowledge and the training.
Yeah.
It's helped.
Absolutely.
And then what happens, we've kind of meshed all that
All
together.
of it together. Yep.
And
Yep.
now we're behaviorists and we just
Behavior
help-
therapists.
Behavior, okay, we'll go with that. Behavior therapists.
No, we're not therapists at all. We're not even counselors. We're behaviorists.
We're behaviorists.
Yeah.
And so, but it's nice because now for me anyway, I look at things on a more micro level.
Right.
And
Well, just building on what you're saying there, it's allowed me to be able to self-evaluate, identify, and change.
Mhm.
Because I can recognize, okay, you need to change your thought process here or your patterns here or whatever, because we're all riddled with patterns and cycles.
Oh, yeah. I mean, and that's one thing. It's kind of like peeling that onion
Yeah.
skin back.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, I'm going to become a hypnotist. I'll be able to solve everything. Everything's going to be good.
It's
Then
going to be better when I get done.
I realized the onion was rotten inside.
I realized I'm the onion. Yeah, peel me back, baby.
Yeah. And so being able to look at myself on a micro level,
Yeah.
becoming self-aware
Right.
as I progress,
Yep.
because there's the three U's, right?
Yep.
The you everybody knows, the you know, and then
And
the
the
you
you
nobody
you
knows.
are.
Yeah. so then you peel all that back, and through the areas of study. I mean, I've studied hundreds of books. I've
Right.
read hundreds of books.
Right.
Made Napoleon Hill just one of my go-to books,
Right.
and James Allen. Nothing
No.
like a deep thinker there,
Yeah,
huh?
no kidding. Take a dictionary with you when you go to the library to read that book.
Yep.
Do people go to the libraries anymore?
My
Probably.
library's like YouTube,
Yeah,
Google,
Kindle.
Kindle.
Yeah. No, James Allen, yeah, deep thinker.
Deep thinker.
And you have to read his stuff 2 or 3 times to start
Yeah.
getting it,
Exactly.
because it's
And
really
so it's been
but very
good and it's-
powerful.
Yeah, very powerful. If you're going to change, you're going to dive into that.
Right.
But be careful because it's a deep rabbit hole.
Yeah, it's like getting out on YouTube. You just be there for hours, and you get done. It's like, oh my gosh, I started this 6 hours ago.
Yep. So we know that the first step is awareness
Yeah.
in change.
Yep.
You have to become aware.
Yep.
If you're not self-aware,
Yep.
you'll never make the change because
Yep.
why, right?
Right, and I think another way to state that is we have to become conscious of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Because as powerful as our unconscious mind is, and as much good as it also does as much bad.
Mm-hmm.
Because the unconscious operates and functions on those patterns and cycles. And if we think that the unconscious mind is going to move us towards change, it won't.
Well, no,
It
change is
won't.
hard. Change burns energy.
No, change is not hard.
Well, once you get the awareness, the brain thinks it is.
Right.
The subconscious mind
Yeah.
thinks it is,
Right.
and thinks it's going to have to burn more energy to do that. And even though it
Yeah.
not conserves, but it uses up about a third of our energy.
Right.
It's trying to conserve it,
Right.
and so it doesn't want to change
Right.
because it's going to have to figure something out.
Yeah, that's what it's familiar with, and it
Right.
likes to be on autopilot
A ton.
a ton.
Yeah.
Yeah, but until we become consciously aware, we won't make those shifts.
Yeah.
And
That's
so-
right.
So, and that's really the key,
Mhm.
is having a conscious awareness of what we're trying to do, what our outcomes are,
Mhm.
all of those things.
Yeah. And this plays into our choice, right?
Mhm. Right.
All of this is our choice.
Right.
So even if we have a pattern that's just going over and over and over and over, causing a negative outcome, causing problems in our life, all that kind of stuff, that's still a choice to some
It's-
degree, right?
And we're either choosing to stay in it or choosing to get away from it, to
Right.
change it.
Mhm.
And so it is a choice, and not making a choice is a choice. You know,
You mean you can't get away from the choice?
yeah, you're making a choice either way. You know,
Yeah,
I mean, a perfect story on that. So I'm involved in the IT world.
The it world. Huh?
The IT world, yeah, information technology for you non-technical people. And where I'm at right now, they want to make change. They want technology to be, because we're, at this place, they're 25 years behind in technology,
Ooh.
which is crazy,
It's
right?
hard to keep functioning at
Well,
that level.
well, yeah, and how do you progress? Because especially nowadays, where technology just moves so quickly, but they want different things, but they don't want to change what they're
Right.
doing.
They want the same familiar
Right.
stuff.
They want the same familiar stuff, but different results, and it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Not even in technology.
So if they would have kept up with the technology and changed along the way, it wouldn't be painful for them.
Exactly. Yeah, but right now, tremendous amount of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Tremendous amount.
Yeah. Man, it's
And that's how, I mean, the same is true in our lives.
Mhm.
I mean, whether it's weight loss, whether it's relationships, whether it's career, what doesn't matter what the situation is, or the category, if you will.
Mhm.
If we don't change, if we don't make the decision to
Mhm.
change, we're not going to we're going to stay right where we're going to stay in that rut.
Yeah.
And that's a choice.
Yeah. Now, an interesting part of that is you're in that rut. You're either moving forward to get out of the rut, or you're not really. You're going backwards.
Yeah, because you never maintain.
Right.
And again, the situation with the technology, they haven't maintained. I mean, they're using the same software, the same processes, and all of that, but they haven't maintained because of the fact that the rest of the world is so much further ahead in technology and can do things so much faster. So they
Yeah.
didn't maintain. They actually have fallen behind.
Yeah.
They haven't progressed, is maybe another way. And it's
Yeah.
the same in our lives. If we try to just maintain, then we aren't going to progress.
Yeah.
Which means we're falling behind, because the world is in a constant state of change.
Exactly. So just think if you were still trying to make decisions based on a 16-year-old program.
I think I still am some days.
I'm 16 today.
You should expound on that a little more, what that means. I mean, because you're talking about rules and things, right?
Right, yeah. So in order to move forward, like you're talking about, our brain, the computer that runs the programs, sets up a series of systems in order to do it, called rules.
Right.
Rules that we live by.
Right.
Rules about, who's our friend, who's not our friend,
Right.
how
And what
greet
is
people,
tolerated and what's not tolerated,
yeah.
what's good and what's bad.
Yeah, we live by hundreds of rules.
Right.
And the reason why is because it's easier for our mind, for us,
Right.
to navigate then through the myriad of input that we get.
Right.
The 80,000 messages, the new relationships, the old relationships, all the things that we have going on.
Right.
We have to have some type of rule system in place, or we couldn't navigate it.
We would be like a fart in a skillet, if you will. It's all over
it'd
the
be
place,
all over
right?
the place, right?
Yeah.
And then go and you're out.
Yeah. That ain't the sizzle. Or maybe that is the sizzle.
So
So is what you're saying is those rules are created through our life experiences, through our environment that we grow up in, through the people who are our influence and things like that. So
Yeah.
maybe parents,
Yeah,
siblings,
so-
teachers.
Exactly.
And we set those rules from the age of 0 to about 16.
Right, so from
80%,
ages 0 to
90%.
8, it's considered a life script.
Yeah.
Because you're a little human trying to figure out how to be human, and the way you learn is by observation
Right.
and mimicking.
Right.
And so from 0 to 8, you're just creating a life script. This is how the world seems to work. Have
Right.
you ever talked to a 2-year-old and say, hey, go kick that guy? And the guy's 6 foot tall, 250 pounds, and the 2-year-old walks over and kicks
Kicks
him.
him. Yeah.
It's because he doesn't understand the dangers of what
Right,
could happen.
right,
But he doesn't have a rule system that says no.
Right.
He's just looking
Right.
at the guy that
He's
is
creating his environment.
He's creating his
Right.
environment.
He's creating the map.
Yeah, and so then when you go through your teen years, you basically have all these rules now, and now you're about testing them. That's why teenagers are so obnoxious, right?
Rebellious.
And
might be a better
rebellious
word.
is because-
if you're a teenager and you're listening to this, you're rebellious, not so much no, you're obnoxious.
I mean, it's a testing period. If they just stopped and said, "Oh, I'm testing a rule,"
Yeah.
because when I was 5, I could throw a temper tantrum and get what
Get
I
away with
wanted.
it, right.
But when I'm 15, laying
Right.
down in Walmart and kicking your feet just doesn't look the same.
Yeah, it's just not going to have the same
Yeah.
effect. And a perfect example of that is, look at these celebrities.
Oh yeah.
Talk about bad behavior.
throwing temper tantrums.
Oh, and why are they doing it? Because they get rewarded. How many of these childhood celebrities, they grew up in the spotlight as kids, and then in their adult life, it's just like they're out of control.
Yeah.
Well, gee, I wonder why. Because their reward system has been, I act up, I do stupid stuff, I get rewarded.
Yeah, and they get rewarded on a big scale.
Yeah, sometimes they
So-
make millions of dollars
for doing that.
in the form of reward.
Right, and you can
They're not going to change.
No. Well, they will through enough pain. But they're not going to
But they're
change
not-
as long as they're
Yeah.
getting the reward.
Yeah, but until they feel that pain, they're not going to change.
They're not going to change, yeah. So we test it through our teen years,
Yeah.
and then we move into our adult years, and we bring with us the things that worked, we leave behind the things that don't.
Right.
Have you ever bumped into an adult and you're going like, dude, it's not how you have to say please.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
don't just demand it from me, or you
Right.
don't just take it.
Yeah.
And they're living on 16-year-old rules.
Rules, yeah.
And
If I,
it just
if I
doesn't
want
work.
it, I can have it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the process of development that we go through.
Yeah.
And then what people don't understand is they have power over their rules. They
Right.
can change their rules.
Right.
I had somebody say, "You can't change your rules," and I said, yeah, you
Sure
most definitely can.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you can, but there's two things that come into play, and if these two things aren't present, they won't change the rules. It's not that they can't; it's that they won't, and they don't understand that.
Right.
The first is I have to recognize the need for change. I have to recognize that if I don't change something, I need to change something, or these bad things are going to happen, or whatever it might be, or these consequences.
Yeah.
The second thing is I have to recognize or understand the value of making that change.
Right.
If I don't recognize those two things, if those two things aren't in the process, they're not going to change.
Exactly. And sometimes it just takes pain, right?
Right.
So
And a lot of it
yeah,
sometimes.
you wake up and your spouse is like, "I've had enough of you,"
Yeah.
and then you're going like, "Whoa,
Yeah.
I need to change."
Right, exactly.
Or man, I'm going to lose my job again,
Right.
because you're just being a jerk at work
Right.
or whatever. So you get enough pain that will change you, but really the pleasant way to do it is to do some self-inventory.
Right. Right.
And-
and evaluate your rules.
Mm-hmm.
How is this rule working? No.
Yeah, and the easiest way, by the way, if you're really into this, and this is all about the power of choice, we'll
Right.
get there, right?
Right. Yeah, trust us. We will get there.
We'll get
the
there.
last 10 minutes.
The last word we say is, "You have the power of choice."
Exactly.
But is that they have control over their rules.
Yeah.
And the easiest way to know what rule is out of control is look at the last time you're upset.
Right,
Because
yeah.
we really only get upset if somebody violates a rule.
Yeah, they break our rule.
Yeah.
And then we get upset at them because they broke our rule.
Yeah. And
But the funny thing is, they don't know. It's not their rule.
Yeah.
But we expect them to live by our rules.
yeah, it sounds something like this. "Hey, you pulled out in front of me. You don't do that."
Yeah.
So that's a rule that's being broke. I have a rule, you don't cut in front of people.
Yeah.
And that's how it sounds, because you don't walk around going like, "Hey, you're breaking my rule."
Yeah.
You're just saying, "I'm ticked off and you're
Yeah.
the cause."
Right.
So you have to go back to when you're angry and then say, "Now what rule is in play here that
Right.
I live by?"
Right. And the rule that people don't pull out in front of you, it's not necessarily a bad rule.
No.
But maybe the emotional response I'm giving it
Yeah.
is bad. And so I don't change the rule, but I change the emotion that I'm feeding them.
Right. And I had an experience the other day. I was coming home and I had to pull in and get some fuel. And I came off the freeway and I was merging in, and a guy thought I shouldn't have been merging but it's an on ramp and there's like 2 lanes and
Right.
stuff. But he got all mad at me, and he literally pulled over in front of me and then stopped. And so I'm just like, well, this is
Brilliant.
interesting. Yeah. So I'm sitting there and I put my hands up like, hey, you can go now. And he just sits there. And so then I honk the horn and he honks his horn. So what's my rule, right? Now we're pushing on a couple rules.
Right.
One is I've let go of road rage a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what's this guy's problem? He stopped, and so then I went around beside him, and then he wants to race me, and so
I'm laughing because
yeah, it happens.
Been there.
Yep. And then we get to a stop sign, and he's going to roll down. He starts rolling down his window, and I look over at him, and I went, just did that shake of your head thing,
Uh-huh.
like, yeah, this is stupid.
really,
Yeah, and then
I'm in the third grade.
Then the light turns green, and so I go, and I just cut in front of him, and I slowed way down. Right? But why would I do
fix
that?
it? That fixed the problem.
Yeah, because now he's honking at me, and
Right.
he's just
And my
all-
rule says if he's upset, I get to make him more upset.
See, but that whole process. Now, here's a cool thing: is a few years ago, I'd have been getting out of the truck. I would have
Right.
been pounding on his truck. I would have busted his windshield out. I would have done a whole
Whatever.
bunch of other things. But today, my rule is, I don't know what this guy's problem is, but he's sure not going to upset my day.
Right.
And so,
And I'm going to have some fun.
and I had some fun, and then he turned off, and I turned off, and I went and got my fuel, and I was getting fuel, and I thought, man, that hasn't happened in a long, long
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And that guy was out of control.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I jumped in my truck and drove on home and was happy, and it almost went
Yeah.
off of me like nothing, but huge response difference.
Right.
Because I had looked at my rule a long time ago. Flipping somebody off when you're driving is really not a good practice, right? And yelling at them. And so I changed that rule.
Right. Yeah.
But first you have to become self-aware.
Right.
You have to make sure that it comes into your consciousness so you can make that
Yep,
change.
exactly. Yep. Yeah. And again, identifying your rules when you're doing that. What's upsetting you? Because those are your rules. I mean, that's a good way to get the baseline
Right.
so that
Yeah.
you can start and you evaluate those rules and just ask yourself, is this rule serving me? Does this rule work?
Yeah. Yeah. Is it serving me? What's the outcome? It's
when
giving me?
I apply this rule, what's the outcome?
Mhm.
Is it the outcome I want? Is it the outcome I like? If it's not, change it.
Exactly.
You know.
and
And you don't and it doesn't have to take a long time to change.
no, it change.
Yeah.
Once you change a rule, you change just like
Well,
that.
once you decide that you're going to change it,
Oh.
change happens.
Yeah. Once you choose, because you have
Right.
the power of choice.
Right.
So all this leads up to it. Now we can get into our topic.
Oh,
the
yeah.
power of
The
choice.
power of choice.
What? Whoa! So once you choose, once you have done exactly what we've talked about here, now you have a choice.
Right.
That's called empowerment.
Right.
So once you are empowered yourself, and you say that is a rule I don't want anymore,
Right.
and you learn how to shift it,
Oh yeah.
change happens fast.
Yeah, it's almost immediate. Well,
Yeah.
it is immediate, but you just have to practice it and perfect it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because you have to
And-
work on it.
Yeah, and it's huge. It's empowering and it's freeing.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I remember. I mean, if I choose not to control my choice, then I'm giving other people permission to determine how I'm going to respond and act.
Right. So like this guy in the truck, when I pulled in front of him, because I had to turn, I wasn't just trying to be obnoxious, but then I realized
It's a good thing you clarified that because
Yeah.
I thought you were just trying to be obnoxious.
No, then I realized he's behind me, and so I just slowed way down to
'Cause
get
you
to
didn't
my
wanna-
turn.
you didn't wanna roll
I
your
don't-
truck on
yeah,
when you're turning the
Yeah, I
corner,
was going to
so
turn that. It was a
Totally
40,
understand why you would slow down.
Yeah, completely. It was a 90-degree turn, so I had to make sure.
Right.
But what's interesting in that process is I actually thought it through. I wasn't out of control and rage.
Yeah.
I was just thinking, this guy's been a jerk, and the world does not appreciate that.
Right.
And I'm part of the world.
And the interesting thing is, as you're thinking that through that process, it's not taking a long time. It's happening
Yeah, pretty quick. Yeah.
real quick. Yeah.
Because this is one of the first things that we learned a long time. We've
Yeah.
known about this
Yeah.
for a long time,
Yeah.
several years.
Yeah, and another way I like to look at that is once I make the choice, once I understand that I have a choice in anything that I do, I have a choice, then I can start to control or master my emotions.
Ooh.
Because it's
Yeah.
all tied up into emotion, right?
It is, and that's going to be one we'll cover.
Yeah, well,
maybe
yeah.
in 2 or 3 segments.
Yeah,
because
that's a
huge one.
whole section in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's our choices are all tied into emotion.
Yeah.
Well, we
we're
have 45 possible emotions we can feel based on the English language.
4,500.
Or yeah, that's what I meant. 40,
Yeah.
4,500.
Yeah, the average adult uses 12.
Well, yeah, at the
And-
most.
yeah.
And the number one emotion that people go to right now
Is anxiety,
is
anger,
And
fear.
yeah, anger is the number one. Anxiety is number two.
Yeah.
Fear.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like number 6 on the list of the 10 they use. That's happy.
Yep, I know.
Really?
It's like-
I'm going to choose the emotion of anger over
Mm-hmm.
happy?
and what's crazy about that is we're emotional beings.
Right.
So we're
Right.
driven,
and
or
we can't
our
turn the emotions off.
no, our fuel is emotion.
Exactly.
So if our fuel is emotion, and you put anger in the fuel tank,
Right.
guess what you're going to get?
Right.
You're going to get intense anger coming out.
Right.
But if you decide to put happy or love or passion or frustration
Or indifference. I
or
mean,
peeved,
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
know,
right.
you're going to get different outcomes.
Right, exactly, because each emotion is going to carry with it different actions that you'll take. Because the actions I take when I'm angry are a lot different than the actions I take when I'm frustrated.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And you get
And we can choose. We can choose what emotion we want to give the
Yeah.
situation. Again, it's the power of choice.
It is the power of
when
choice.
when we take control of our lives and make the conscious decision that we're going to choose our path,
Mm-hmm.
then we start to discover self-mastery.
Yeah. Now you're
Because there's a
talking
difference between self-improvement and self-mastery.
Yeah, self-improvement. We say that we're all about self-improvement in this podcast.
Right. But really it's about
we're-
self-mastery.
Self-mastery. We're not here to motivate
Yeah.
people. I'm not a motivator.
Right.
I'm probably the worst at doing podcasts there is.
I'm
and
the best.
well,
Haven't looked-
that way we balance each other out. But I'm not I'm not a.
You're holding me down.
Yeah, quit holding me down,
Yeah.
And so I'm not a motivator, though. I'm not here doing hip hip
Right.
hurrah, go out and do
Right.
this. I'm saying you really want to get control of your life. You want to really make it so you're living a life that is a good life to live.
Right.
It doesn't even have to be spectacular. It doesn't even have to be awesome. Just a pleasant one.
Right.
Well, you're in control of it.
Right.
And you can learn to make these choices.
Right.
Even though you might have to learn some of how
Right.
to change emotion, how to change state.
Right.
You might have to learn how you identify it and things like
and
that.
we'll probably need to do a follow-up podcast on this, just kind of giving some steps of how we go about controlling our choices, taking control of our life and that.
Yeah.
So I just don't think we're going to be able to hit it all.
Well, no, today we're just talking
Just
about
informational.
Yeah, today you have the choice. You have the power to make the choice.
Right.
But it all starts
Right.
with your conscious awareness
Right.
and the understanding you do. Once you empower yourself, then you
Right.
can exercise choice.
Right.
Until then, you're a slave
Right.
to whatever program you're running.
Right. And the other thing that's interesting is once I started to understand that I always have the choice and that I don't give other people the opportunity or the privilege or the right, whatever you want to call it, to determine what my emotional response is going to be. Once I did that, I can be in a confrontational type situation, and because I'm choosing my response, I'm choosing the emotion that I'm going to put or direct towards that conversation, I have clarity.
Yeah.
Because I don't go to anger closes us off and we get tunnel vision. But if I can keep anger out of it, a lot more clarity,
Yeah.
less emotion, and I can make I can respond at a higher level.
Yeah, and then also it takes that what you think is going to be a massive confrontation down to like,
Yeah.
well, that was kind of mild.
Yeah,
Because-
it's funny because there's a gal that we were not in agreement, and we were both pretty set on our positions, and so we're having this conversation. This conversation's going on, and she's getting really frustrated. She's getting angry, and pretty quick she slams her fist down on my desk, and and makes this really direct confrontational comment. And I just looked at her and I said, that is inappropriate, and I won't have this type of a conversation with you. Totally, she's just like, she had no idea how to respond to that.
Yeah.
But that was making the choice, understanding what my outcome is, because her outcome, that's on her. I'm not worried about what her outcome is.
Yeah.
I'm worried about what my outcome is, because my outcome is what drives me.
Right. Well,
And by making that choice, the choice of being firm but not angry was the difference between how she was trying to respond and how she was trying to drive her point compared to me.
Right. Now, you learned this a long time ago.
Oh yeah.
So,
a lot of trial and error.
Yeah, a lot of trial and error. So people listening realize, oh, he did that overnight. No, we're talking about, we've been at this since 2006. We've been studying how to change emotion, change our states, our behaviors, our rules, our beliefs, our values, and our
hundreds and thousands of hours.
So this is
and several thousands of dollars of self-investment.
Right.
And really, you need to invest in yourself. That's
Right.
the best investment you could ever make.
Exactly. So the reason why I bring that up is it's worth it, and it sounds easy, but the hardest part is actually doing it.
Right. And it's interesting because only 5% of the world's population will even go to a seminar, listen to somebody's address, a podcast. Only 5% of the population will actually listen to that. And out of that 5%, only 1.7% will actually try and implement or apply those changes in their lives.
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. So if you're here and you take action steps towards applying this, you are in a very elite group.
Yeah. If you want to try something to understand where your emotional state's at and what's going on, I know a lot of people don't like journaling, but this is not I went out and did this journal.
Right.
This is just get some paper, and when you have an intense emotion,
it's a self-identifying.
It's a self-identifying little, and this is like an action step they can do, and they do this for a couple weeks.
Yeah.
Then you start to identify the emotions that are not giving you the outcome.
Right.
Because we're outcome oriented.
Right.
This is what the results are.
Right.
So you just identify the emotion. I was angry, and then you just write down a one sentence because. I was angry because some dude stopped in front of me.
Yeah.
And then the next question you ask yourself, what was the outcome? Well, I didn't make a friend. I was on the verge of going to war.
Not going to have dinner.
But then what would I have wanted
Right.
in that? And so then you say, what emotion would have I wanted? So the result I was after was to be pleasant. So that means I need to be in a calm, pleasant state.
Right. Yeah. What's
in order to
the
get
emotion that I'm going to feel
Yeah.
in that state?
Yeah, and now I'm just self-aware of what that is,
Right.
and now it's in my consciousness. I can go, oh, I want to stay calm in that
Yep.
type of situation.
Yep.
So then I can practice that.
Yep.
Anytime I feel that type of intensity, then I can literally walk myself through it.
Yeah.
And in the beginning, you'll probably do it after the fact
Right.
because it happens too fast.
Yeah, and you've got to program yourself. You're rewiring your brain to think differently.
Yeah.
And it's really not that long. It doesn't take that long.
No,
working
couple weeks.
working with a person in Tennessee, working with her, and this same exact process. And she asked, "So, how long is this going to take?" And I said, "The first time you do it, you're going to start notice. Your brain's going to pay attention to that, and it becomes progressively easier. And it's a short period of time. Within 2 weeks." Her comment was, "Wow, I'm amazed at how much control I have over my emotions."
Yeah. Once you start understanding the process.
Right.
And the formula really is it starts with a thought.
Yep.
We add some emotion.
Yep.
We add
Take
the
action,
action.
we
And then
get
we
our result.
get our result. And it is, once you start to do this, once you understand that the choice is yours.
Yeah.
And that's the first
Once
part
you
of it.
accept ownership that the choice is yours.
Exactly.
Because until I own that the choice is mine, I'm not going to do it.
No, why do it?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's,
Yeah, and I have to, and ownership is key, because by taking ownership of wanting to be, to make my own choices, that means I have to take ownership of whatever is mine in whatever situation it is.
Mm-hmm.
We have ownership in every situation.
Yeah.
And until I take ownership, I'm not going to choose. I'm not going to make that. I'm not going to accept the power of choice.
yeah.
So I have to be willing to own what is mine in the situation, and only what is mine.
Mm-hmm.
Other people have ownership too. That's on them. All I can do is own what is mine.
Yeah.
And I have to be honest with myself, because again, we lie to ourselves.
Exactly.
It was not my fault.
It never is.
Right,
Why
yeah.
I wouldn't do
Right,
that.
exactly.
So yeah, you have to definitely look at that, and then you have to be able to separate. Sometimes it's not your stuff, and so you
Right.
don't have to take ownership of that.
Right.
Only what's yours.
Right.
You only have power to
Right.
work with yourself.
Right.
That's it. And that's why we're behaviorists. We're basically tour guides.
Right.
We just have the ability to say that's the behavior. If you'll do this, it
Yep.
changes that behavior.
We know where the stars live. We're just driving you past their houses and saying, that's
That's-
where they live.
Yep.
And if you decide to go jump the gate, that's on you.
That's right. And then you have to do the work.
Right,
You have to
exactly.
be the one who wants to
Exactly.
do this. And you get it. So we'll end this podcast with a story where it comes to the power of choice. And our next podcast is the decision,
Mm-hmm. Right.
right? So we realize we have
Yeah,
choice.
how to make- or
and now
making a
we have
decision.
you have to advance that to the decision.
Right.
And you'll recognize this story. It's one of my favorite stories.
Okay.
And this is when we
I know which one it is.
Which one?
Tetons?
No.
Oh,
No.
sorry.
Close. This is the one when we're in Oregon.
You and I?
Yeah, you and I and our older brother. And
Oh,
yeah,
yes.
we
That,
climbed-
this is a great story.
it is
yeah.
a great story.
Yeah.
We were there because, our dad was passing away and emotions got a little tense and stuff. We'd been there about a week and cramped in a tiny little house. And so we need to blow off some steam, basically.
Yeah.
We need to get out.
Just needed to go decompress.
Yeah, decompress a little bit. So we borrowed our sister's van because we didn't have our cars there.
Yeah.
And drove to this mountain, fairly steep mountain. And pretty
Yeah,
tall.
Yeah, yeah. It was about a mile up and probably about a 6% grade.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
So it
pretty
was
steep,
Pretty steep. We
but
parked,
beautiful. Lots
Yeah.
of trees.
Lots of, yeah, it was great. It was a beautiful place. We parked the van at the bottom.
Right.
We start hiking up to the top, doing our
Right.
little switchbacks, Sometimes we try to not do it and have to get on our hands and knees and climb up. And, well, we got about 2/3 of the way up there. And, maybe half of the way up there.
Yeah.
And because we're, attentive adults
Right.
and responsible for our actions,
Yeah.
we started rolling rocks down the
Yeah.
mountain.
As we were climbing.
Yeah, we were
And
climbing.
we're progressively getting higher.
Yeah. And we started rolling rocks.
Yep.
Started with the little ones and
Yep.
went, oh, that didn't go too far. And then we get bigger ones, get a little momentum.
And that was cooler.
That was
Yeah.
cooler, and we
Bigger
kept-
is always better.
kept climbing until we get almost to the top.
Right.
And we're thinking, hey, here's a big boulder.
This will be awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was big enough we couldn't push it on our own.
We had to build a leverage system, so we got trees and rocks and leveraged the rock out of the ground.
Right.
It was huge.
It
It was
was
the
a-
size of a love seat.
But it was cool, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was way cool.
And so what it was cool is you tip that rock,
Uh-huh.
right? And there's a moment where if you just let up on the lever, it'll settle, back, down, right?
Yep.
But if you keep pushing,
It's gonna get
it's
some
gonna
inertia.
It's gonna go, right?
Yep.
And right at that point, you could put your finger out, and go nope, and stop it.
Yep. Or put your finger
You go on the other side,
yep.
and go whoop, it went that way. Well, we decided to go whoop.
Yep.
Yeah. And it started getting some momentum.
And yeah, started rolling slow. It's like, oh, that's kind of boring. And it's speeding up. Hey, it's going faster. Yeah, we got pretty excited.
Yeah, and then it hit small trees and boom, it just
Blowing through
exploded.
trees. Yeah, it's amazing.
We were like,
I mean, and not little trees. These were trees that were probably 2 feet in diameter. I remember watching that rock. It's going, and pretty quick, it's leaving the ground as it's spiraling through the air. Would hit and bounce higher, and there was a tree. It was 1.5 to 2 feet in diameter, and we thought, okay, that's going to stop the rock. Because now we're kind of worried
Yeah.
because we remembered Susie's van was
at
down
the
on the
bottom of
bottom.
the mountain here.
And so we're thinking, oh, the tree's going to stop it. We're okay. It just blew right through that. I mean, it was like somebody put dynamite on that tree.
tree just
It
boom.
just splintered everywhere. Just
Yeah.
took it out.
Yeah.
And kept on going and getting faster.
Yeah. But then there was a split moment when you went, the van.
Yeah.
And my reaction was I wanted to run down the mountain and
Yeah.
catch that rock.
I'm going to stop it. tree couldn't do it, but I can.
yeah. Woo! And then it dawned on me. Can't stop it.
Can't stop
nothing,
it.
Nothing I
Yeah.
can do about it.
Yeah.
And I remember just relaxing, going like,
Well, let's enjoy the ride.
yeah.
Too bad we didn't have cell phones with cameras at the time.
And so we then went down the mountain because we crashed. It went out of sight. We couldn't
Yep,
see it, but
all we could hear is hear it. Yep.
Yeah.
And just a lot of noise.
Yeah.
A lot of noise.
A lot of noise. Crash. Quiet. Well, must have hit the van.
Yeah. Yeah. Took us about 15 to 20 minutes to walk down the hill.
Yeah, we get down there. The rock had missed the band by several feet.
Yeah.
But the lesson of that story is we discovered, or we were smart enough to know we could do this. So we made that choice. In
Yeah.
that moment, we made the choice.
Right.
And then we committed ourselves with the decision.
Right.
Right? And
Right.
that once it was committed, it was over.
Right.
And you know what? We might as well just climb to the top of the mountain. We could have just said, you know what, it's off and gone. It will stop
let's
on
finish
its
the
own
hike.
inertia.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
Because
here's another part of that story. So remember, we got down to the bottom, and that rock was sitting in a creek bed. It was just a small creek, and the rock was big enough that it altered the flow of that creek.
Yeah.
So how do we compare that to life?
Yeah.
Well, any change that we make, if it's good change, it's going to alter
The
so
flow.
that we have good results.
Yeah.
It's going to alter the flow of our life. If we're making bad choices or we're choosing not to, the alteration is going to have those results.
Exactly. So, and we summarize.
And the rock was too big to drag out of the stream. So I don't know what that creek's doing nowadays.
Hopefully, it just went around
Hopefully,
it and kept going. But,
yeah.
we flooded the neighbors out.
It's backed up. That canyon is now a reservoir.
So to wrap this up, you have the power of choice.
Yes.
In order to get to the power of choice, you have to do some awareness. You have to bring it to your conscious awareness. And then once you have that, you have to take some ownership of it to empower you so you can then start to make some choices.
Yep, exactly.
Cool.
And you always have the choice. Always.
Always.
Always, always, always.
And nobody can take it from you.
And not choosing is
Yeah.
a choice.
That's right. So we would like to thank everybody for listening to our podcast. This is the coolest, or the cool podcast.
Yep.
A very cool podcast. I don't know what we're going to name this, but
We'll name it something.
a cool
A
podcast.
cool podcast for
It's a
today,
cool
yeah.
podcast.
This is
So-
a cool podcast.
Yep, all about you becoming you.
And making and choosing to make choices.
That's
choosing to take control of your life.
Yeah, making that choice.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
thanks for listening, and
Yeah.
you know what?
We'll chat with you on our next podcast.
Excellent. Adios.
See ya.